Hi friends, and welcome back to our home. Today is going to be a simple kind of day in the life and get things in order, decluttering kind of a day. And of course, this is all going to be taking place amidst our regular homemaking and homeschooling type of a day. Today, I'm going to be tackling two small projects. And the reason why I'm calling them small is at the beginning of the week, I actually was able to sit down and create a huge master list of things I needed to get done. These are things that I wanted to get done that are really not a part of my regular kind of zone cleaning that I tackle. So even though I'm able to keep up on the dressers, keeping up on the clothes switching out, there's just some things that I needed to get done that were not included in that regular routine. And I was kind of worried about just falling behind a lot and having, things get piled up or overwhelming, because when I looked at my huge to-do list, it was really overwhelming, to be honest, when I saw all the projects I wanted to accomplish. But the reason why I did that is I wanted to see and really create a vision for what I wanted our home to be, and then give myself a really practical timeline for accomplishing that. And when I say practical, I'm talking I'm giving myself all spring and all summer, all the way till really that August when we start back to school type time frame to accomplish everything on this list. And once I really gave myself the permission and freedom to go at it slowly, I immediately stopped being overwhelmed and just started tackling those little things. And when I say little, I mean they really are, but everything adds up. And what I'm going to be working on today is I wanted to create spaces underneath my girls' beds for their shoes specifically, because right now, as you can tell, the space that we converted into a big girls' bedroom is very long and narrow. We have loved this space and it has served our family so well, but because it is narrow, I don't have a lot of wall space for utilizing dressers and things like that. I do have dressers. I have one large one for my two toddlers and another small one on the other side of the room for my daughter. But apart from that, I don't have any extra wall space. And this is a room as well in our home. It's a combined kind of toy space plus the actual bedroom. So we're utilizing it as a little bit of a multi-purpose room right now. I had previously stacked our bunk beds, which did create more space, and I could have put a shoe rack or a shoe box or something like that on that one wall against the windows, because I do have a large shoe shelf that would have worked perfectly. However, because my 4-year-old is still 100% into the needing mommy to cuddle and kind of contact sleep when we go to sleep at night, it was hard for me to lay in the bunk bed because she was sleeping on the bottom bunk and then be able to sit up comfortably because it's really a low one. So it just worked best for our family right now in the little years to unstack the beds and just have time to cuddle and sleep and be more comfortable when it comes to tucking in our little ones. Anyway, I am creating a space to put all of their shoes. Previously, we had put all their shoes, so for each little girl, just under the beds, and that worked great, and we didn't necessarily need anything. However, I had these little rolling storage containers on hand from when we were working on a previous Airbnb property. We ended up not using them. We ended up doing a different storage thing. It ended up being too late to return these. So these were actually sitting out in our garage for probably 7 months now. So I decided to bring them in and put them to good use. So I didn't want to actually spend any money. Since we already had them on hand, I decided, why not? And the one reason why I love these is, for one, they do roll in and out so the babies can easily access them no matter which side of the bed that they are on. And it's really cleanable too. So I can just take the lining out, shake it out, clean it out, even toss it in the wash. And so this makes a perfect kind of shoe storage solution, and I didn't have to spend any money. One of the things I wanted to mention, and one of the things I was thinking to myself over and over again as I was trying to figure out how to put this thing together, is the entire time I was putting it together, I was like, this is why I just buy everything thrifted, because I do not have any experience putting together any storage things, any organizational anything, because normally when I buy it, I do buy it thrifted and it's already put together for me, which is a huge blessing of getting things at the thrift store. So that was my first time actually putting together a storage thing in probably 8 or 9 years. I'm going to be honest. I haven't bought anything apart from it being already put together. Anyway, we moved in after I did that project, which took me way too long much longer than I like to admit. We moved into doing lunch. The reason why I wanted to show organization and decluttering in the middle of the busy days is I had one of you guys ask me a while back, how I made time for doing these projects amidst, homemaking and homeschooling and everything else that, we have on our plates as mamas. And this is, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, how I do it is I just do the small things at a time. But unfortunately, a lot of the times whenever we do have those priorities and projects, there's other things in the day that kind of get switched up and switched around. On this specific day, it was beautiful outside. So my kiddos ended up spending all morning outdoors while I did like the shoe organization and got all those units put together for my girls. And then we had lunch, and then while lunch was cooking, I had some on the stove and then a dish in the oven. So while that was cooking, I was then able to take about 10 minutes and work on just cleaning out this little rolling thing I have, which you can't really see in the camera. You'll be able to see it here in a little bit. I've had this for years. I want to say probably 3 or 4 years now, and I've used it for so many different things. It initially started when I first bought this little rolling storage unit. I originally got it to, again, store our homeschool materials in back when we only homeschooled on the dining room table. And we still do homeschool in the dining room, even though we have a separate table next to the dining room table for our homeschool right now. And then I used it for bathroom storage. I've used it as an art cart. I've used it just for so many different things. I recently did a bathroom declutter, and I just cleaned out everything that was in there, downsized everything that we had, and just put the rolling cart into this little library space. And it was just sitting empty for a while. And so when it came to wanting to find a space specifically to help me organize my preschoolers' learning materials, I decided to go ahead and do this instead of buying something else. I did have my mind on a couple of other different storage options, but again, my main goal into really doing all these decluttering projects, especially I've got so many different projects coming up, is my main goal is not to spend any money, but really stewarding what we have well, utilizing what we have. And a lot of the times we have everything that we need already. We just need to utilize or maybe think of something differently or using things differently. So even though the little rolling cart might not have been my ideal way of how I'd like to organize some of the activities, it works beautifully for the season of life, and I didn't have to spend any money on it, which is also great. Anyway, so this is also the time of the day. As I mentioned, my kiddos were outside all morning. We went ahead and started reading, and while lunch was finishing up cooking, we were able to get all of our reading done. My little ones also did their copy work for the day with the McGuffey readers, and then we were also able to get about half of a math lesson done before we sat down and had lunch together. No. So weather, as in the weather outside, is just W. E-A-T-H-E-R. Good job for correcting. Okay. Good. 7 and 7 are
18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, 81, 90, 99, 108.
Good job. I say a couple more times. So I was about halfway through this project when I kind of regretted putting everything in the drawers because I was like, I should have just deep cleaned the entire thing before touching it. Anyway, I ended up taking everything out, made a bowl of hot soapy water, and went back in and deep cleaned it. I'm really glad I did because some of the bottom drawers were just really messy. Anyway, that took much longer than I had originally expected. At this point in the day, I want to say, if I remember correctly, it's around 5:30. And we had spent the afternoon, to give you an idea of kind of how my afternoon routines flow. I'll have linked down some videos I've shared specifically my afternoon routines or full days in the life where I go into detail on what that looks like. But I had spent the afternoon after doing the decluttering project, laying my little ones down for a nap, finishing laundry. And this is one of those days where I didn't have time to do that zone cleaning that I normally like to do in the afternoon because I had spent that time in the morning and then early afternoon decluttering and then creating those spaces for my kiddos' shoes. So because I used that space, because I used that time, I was not able to then go back and do zone cleaning, which is totally fine because I'm always going to have my front burner priorities that are non-negotiable for me personally. And those non-negotiables are always going to be relationships, so family, my little ones, and that includes homeschooling, our reading, my toddler's learning time, our preschoolers' learning time, our read alouds, speech therapy games. Those are always my front burners. And then I love cooking all of our meals mostly from scratch. So that's a huge front burner priority that I'm going to be honest and say is very time consuming. But because those are my front burner priorities and non-negotiable for me personally, I can't do everything. So one last thing that I wanted to mention before I let you guys go, and I did already cover this lightly when it comes to my personal goal of not wanting to spend any money on the next coming months of organizing and decluttering, and really essentially boiling this down to putting my home in order. I feel like there's just been so many areas that I have let go, or I have overlooked, or I have a really bad habit of just shutting the door in a mess and then ignoring it, because there's just a lot of spaces in my home that honestly just need organized and tackled. So that's what my big to-do list is going to be. I'll be bringing you guys along with me as we go through and kind of organizing and decluttering and stewarding our space well without spending any money. And I know for me personally, it's easy to think that I need to go out and buy new containers, new shelves, or fancy systems to get organized. But what I loved about today is that most of the time, something that I've learned, because this is my first day tackling this list, is I've learned that I have everything I already need right here in our home. And something else I've come to the conclusion with, especially at the end of the day here, is decluttering and homemaking really kind of go hand in hand, not because we're chasing perfection or wanting everything to look perfect, but because my main goal here is to really create a space that serves our family well. And honestly, there's just some spaces in our home, as I already mentioned, that's not serving us at all. It's just becoming overwhelming, a burden, and I just need to put my home in order. So that's going to really be my main goal here in the next coming months. And another thing that's really been on the forefront of my mind as well is that with homemaking and decluttering especially, it's not about making everything look perfect or the look of things or the feel of things. And something that I've been learning as well is I really want to make room for more peace, for purpose, and for the people that matter most. And I feel like I've gotten to the point where I spend so much time managing things and managing stuff instead of spending time on distracted. A lot of the times, even when we're present with our children, when we have a lot of things on our to-do list, even if it's picking up things, if it's decluttering, it can just help. It just makes, well, for me specifically, it really makes me not be present when I am with them. So getting my home to the point where it's serving us instead of the other way around, because I don't want to be a servant to my home per se. I would love our home to serve us, and I just need to do a better job at stewarding it better and the resources that God has given our family. So last little bit of encouragement here, if you are in the same position as I am and you just want to start decluttering or putting your homes in order, and that is to say that even if all you have is an old basket somewhere, an unused drawer, or just 5 or 10 minutes, that's perfectly enough time to start. And something else I'm learning is just to start small. And this is one of my biggest hangups, honestly, when it comes to decluttering, is I feel like I have to have a whole afternoon, or I have to have hours of time set aside before I can start. And so what I've been doing, what I feel like I've been doing for years, is saying, well, I don't have a whole day to do this, so I'm just not going to start at all. And that's just put me farther and farther behind. So really starting small, getting everything on a list and picking one or two small things, and then honestly utilizing what we have on hand and trusting that all of this work that we do is going to really pour into our home, and really that's what's going to matter most. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm really excited to bring you guys along with me as I put my home in order. Anyway, thank you guys again, and until my next video, you guys have a wonderful day, and God bless. Bye guys.